Air Force Blue, is he, as Aidan O'Brien has said, the greatest horse since Pegasus, or has Aidan got carried away with a very poor Dewhurst Stakes? What do the figures tell us, Phil?
OK, well, I'm quoting my two-year-old handicapper Matthew Tester's figures here. Quite a difficult race in the end because of, obviously, the injury to Emotionless. And just to go back to your previous question, what Matthew did after the race was look back at the form of the Champagne, and because the second horse in the Champagne ran disappointingly, he's dropped the level of the race too. So Emotionless went from 120 before the race to 118, and that's his current figure. Air Force Blue. Well, interesting horse in the race is the third horse, Sanus Per Aquam. He was either rated 109 if you look at the Matthews figures, 110 if you look at Gary O'Gorman's figures, but basically they're within a pound of each other, so we're not going to argue much about that. And he's beaten them 6 lengths. Air Force Blue's beaten Sanus Per Aquam 6 lengths. Now, unless you've got to promote Sanus Per Aquam, and I can't see anyone would want to do that, then you've got a 6-length, 12-pound situation. Now, I think what both of them will have done there is they'll have added on an extra length for ease, style of victory. I think nobody would be critical of that. So I think what they've both done is they've called it 7 lengths, which is 14 pounds. So Matthew's got a figure of 123 for Air Force Blue, and Gary's gone a pound higher, and you can see why.
But compared to other Dewhurst winners, does that make Air Force Blue the sensation that we're being led to believe, Phil?
Well, if you look back over the last 20 years of top 2-year-olds, there are quite a few above him, but there are still plenty of him below him in terms of champion. And we don't know yet whether he's going to end up as the champion, because you quite rightly say that something could come out and get ahead of him, can't they?
Explain this table for us, Phil, because you've done this specially for us. It took a long time. Explain what it tells us.
OK. Well, I went back 20 years, obviously, and on the left-hand side, you can see the European champion 2-year-old and the figure they got. And on the right-hand side, I thought it'd be interesting to look at who Aidan's top-rated 2-year-old was in all these years. And when you look down, you'll see that on 8 occasions, if we assume that Air Force Blue is going to be the champion, then 8 of the 20, he's had the champion. And just looking at his horses, we have Vasilyev on 125, so he'd be higher than it looks like Air Force Blue. Air Force Blue is going to be either 122 to 124, we think, but there's going to be a big debate in London about him in the end of November, beginning of December. So he's, at the moment, he varies between 22 and 24. But Vasilyev, who you remember, didn't run as a 3-year-old, but was unbeaten as a 2-year-old, 125. Higher again, also Johannesburg. And it's interesting, we've been talking Breeders' Cup, but you remember that Johannesburg went over to America and won the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. Yep. I think that for me, that's a pretty big achievement. You go over there and you win against their top juveniles on their surface. For me, that's a better achievement than what Air Force Blue has done so far. So I can easily see why Matthew and the 2-year-old guys have got him on 126. Judge Washington, 124. Again, top 2-year-old, and of course replicated it as a 3-year-old. St Nicholas Abbey, my sort of real favourite from the yard, 124. Mr Consistency, used to be a standing dish in the Coronation Cup year after year. St Nicholas Abbey, we've actually got him 124 in 4 different seasons, which is absolutely amazing.
Is it fair to say, for me, Flintshire is St Nicholas Abbey?
Yes, I can see that, yeah. A very fair comment. So Air Force Blue, he's going to be somewhere between 122, 124-ish. The interesting thing, I think, is what about next year? Now, if you just look at weight for age, right, he's got to improve £10 to stay on that rating. Between now and the Guineas, there's a £10 differential between the weight for age that a 2-year-old will get over 7 furlongs compared with what a 3-year-old would get over a mile in May. He's got to improve intrinsically, physically, £10 through the winter to be able to replicate 122 to 124. If he can do that, he's probably going to be very close in a Guineas, if he can do that.
Well, hold on. Except that he's running against his own age group, so they've all got to improve £10 as well to get near.
No, they've got to improve more, because they're behind him. Yeah. Right?
So it's irrelevant.
So £10 is what we would expect the average horse to improve between now and the Guineas. You know, the average 2-year-old we'd expect to improve £10. So that's what he's got to improve just to be where he is now. Everything else has got to improve by significantly more. So, but the questions that people need to ask themselves is, have we seen the best of Air Force Blue? Is he going to progress by that £10? Is he going to progress by more than that? If he progresses by more than the £10 that Weight for Age suggests that he should do, 25, 26, 27, he's a Guineas winner. But if he doesn't, something could accelerate past him.
They could, but equally, if nothing else progresses, he could regress by £5 and still win.
If he regresses by £5 and he can only do a 1:17, 18, 19, I think that something will come and do him.
Yeah, I mean, he obviously does look a very good horse.
I think it's unlikely that he's going to regress.
Yeah. And Phil, you say he's got to do the £10, but will he? Because will you have destroyed the Weight for Age scale by that time after your meeting in Paris the other day, when I'm sure Weight for Age did come up for discussion?
Who knows?
Well, you do. You were at the meeting.
I don't know.
Well, you were there discussing it.
But I don't know whether that's the final decision. But there's lots of other decisions to be made.
What did they decide there?
I can't tell you that, Matt, and you know that.
So you were at the meeting and you're not going to tell us what was discussed?
There will be a debate on Weight for Age over the next X months, and as soon as...
You were at the meeting, were you?
As soon as I know, I'll tell you.
You were there, though? You didn't have a night out or something after the Arc and not make it?
I did have a night out after the Arc, and very pleasant it was, but I was at the meeting.
Right. Weight for Age is going to be compressed, isn't it?
Who knows?
No, but it is.
Maybe.
Well, you were at the meeting.
I was.
Oh, dear, it's like getting... So when that Weight for Age scale changes...
If it does,
which it will, because Phil is compressing it, although he won't admit it, Air Force Blue might not have to find, he might only have to find £7.
I don't think there'll be any change between the Weight for Age scale between the October of a 2-year-old career and the May of a 3-year-old career, so he'll still have to make that progression.
Right, but there will be changes elsewhere, therefore?
Possibly.
On that, yeah. Right, I think you'll be getting a phone call now from the Racing Post if they're listening. God, Phil, what's happening with Weight for Age? We know it's going to change at some stage, because we do know that you think, in general terms, the Weight for Age scale is a bit too large, isn't it?
I've said my views, and that's it.
We move on. What about the fillies? Minding. I mean, she looked a monster, didn't she?
119.
Is that good?
That's pretty good for a filly. Yeah. Again, if you, looking at previous fillies, she'd be right, pretty near the top. So in terms of the pecking order, we'd have her, pretty close to the top of the fillies over the last 20 years. If I'd known, I would have produced you a fillies list as well. Just
to say, after Ballydor won in France, obviously, understandably, Michael Table was saying she was the top of the list, but Minding just literally did blow our minds, didn't she? She was just...
I think anybody who watched Minding, you'd be really impressed with her.
I can't...
Lumiere's the interesting one.
Yeah, but she's never going to outstay Minding, is she?
That's the interesting thing about Lumiere. But we've had horses that have been very impressive over 6 furlongs in the past, and with the winter on their back and, development, they're stronger, they do stay. So it has happened. But Lumiere does look a bit of a speed horse.
We've got only a minute left of the show. Loads of emails we haven't got to. I'll just rattle through a couple of them. Aid says he thinks you were spot on about David John. You were clearly sucked in as well. Eddie says all the handicapper does is stop good horses winning. That's a kind of attitude we don't want on the show, isn't it? Well, there's an element of truth.
I think the interesting thing about that is that in British racing, 50%-ish of all races are handicaps and 50% are best horse wins. So there's plenty of opportunities for the best horse to win. Michael says this is one of the funniest shows I've ever seen. And top weights have a fantastic record in handicaps.
Yeah. We could be the Morecambe and Wise for Michael of the racing world. And lots of other emails
more like Cannon and Ball, I think.
Way before my time. Right, so that is it. Phil will be off to the Breeders' Cup. We'll be back in the month of November. Thank you, Phil, for coming in, and thank you for watching. This was Ask the Handicapper.